Welcome to Our View, the podcast, where we're changing the conversation about disability one story at a time. Here at Our View, we're all about education, awareness, and shifting perspectives. With each episode, we dive into honest, meaningful conversations with individuals from across the disabled community, amplifying voices, sharing lived experiences, and challenging the way society sees disability. Because disability isn't a limitation, it's a part of the human experience. So pull up a seat and join us as we broaden the view and bring real, powerful stories into focus. This is Our View. I would like to welcome everyone back to a new episode of Our View, the podcast, where we educate, raise awareness, and change the tone of conversation about disabilities. Today, I'm happy to welcome my guest on the podcast, Julia. So, Julia, thank you for joining me today for this conversation.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Yes. So, to start the podcast, can you share a little bit of your story with us? Tell us who you are, what you do, some things you like to do for fun, or, something you did. It's December now, but something you may have done over the summer that you really enjoyed, to remind us of the warmer weather.
Yes, for sure. So I'm Julia. I live out here in the West. I'm in Utah. So I have mountains all around me. I love the mountains. They are a place that I go to often, but I do love to just watch them as well. It's where I watch the sunrise and the sunset. It's where I've been most of my life. I did spend some time out east when I was a younger human. I am now have glitter in my hair. I call the white in my hair glitter. So that was in my first act. That's how I define parts of my life, is like a play, right? That was my first act when I was younger. But who I was then is somebody who I thought I knew what I was doing in life, which is hilarious now, right? But that's who we thought we were when we were younger. And my road kind of got twisty, but I lived in other places in the country, and I thought I knew what I was doing. And when I was 8, actually, I thought I was going to be a ninja. So, right, we all have these things we thought we were going to do, and I thought I was going to be a ninja. I don't know what that meant, except for that's what I was going to do. Maybe I was going to come in and out of places and not be seen in the world. And then I got a little bit older and I wanted to go on adventures and I was going to do a couple other things in the world. And then I met this really incredible human, my husband. That was when I was a little bit older, but I had no idea that this man that I met, this husband to be, was going to change my life by how incredible he was. That was the start of my second act and the second act of my play of my life. And my husband's name is Brandon, and he's this really powerfully kind, generous soul. And we started this second act. I was going to go and be this adventurous, never at home person. And then I met this Brandon, and we started this second act. And with that second act, our son came into our world. And our son was born, and he was this also adventurous, almost the exact human as my husband. Imagine that. A mini me is what we call them now, right? These mini me's. And so then there we were, this adventurous little family, and our son was this typical little guy. This typical dude is what we called him because he faced the wind and watched the fireworks and also just loved to be in the world. And then our world changed when our son started with a catastrophic illness when he was just before 2 years old. That all happened in the second act of my life. So that's where things kind of got a little more twisty and the adventure got more intense. So that's where things kind of went more into the medical world, and our son with this illness that the doctors didn't know what was happening got a little more intense, and things changed from there. He survived the illness. The doctors didn't know how he survived what they called catastrophic. He lost all development, meaning he couldn't sit up, walk, talk, swallow, eat any longer. He needed help when he was having multiple seizures, hundreds of them, in fact, and they didn't know if he was going to survive until one day he stood up in his crib, climbed out, and began walking again with no reason whatsoever, but he survived. And that was right there in the middle of his second act and my second act as well. So that's how we kind of went forward from there. That's the beginning of my life. That's who I am.
Wow, that's great. I love that you started off describing your husband as an incredible human. That's really great. I just really felt, I felt your love for him in that in your description of him, and hearing parts of your story and your son's story, and your first and second act. I love that. I enjoy a good play, so definitely like that reference, and that's a really good way of breaking up our life into different acts, and what happened in Act One and Act Two. So thank
Hmm.
you for that. In our previous, discussion that we had before we came up with certain questions, you mentioned that you work with members of the disability community offering assistive technology support. So, can you share a little bit about your profession doing that and some examples of assistive technology? I think that's a really important space to to discuss because things have come so far in recent years, especially.
That would be lovely. So I get to come into an individual's life, their family's life, and oftentimes into schools as an assistive technology specialist. So my job is to go into those spaces as requested through a referral process. I get to work with schools and state agencies. Look at assistive technology. That could be to support communication, either receptive or expressive. So that means understanding or speaking through a communication device or other means, but it could also help with reading or writing or having access to the community. Sometimes we think of assistive technology and people say, "Oh, that's that van that helps people get somewhere." But it's also a pencil grip. It could also be a slant board. It could be so many things. It's actually anything that helps a person achieve their goals. So I actually learned how to do this because our son, he's the person that brings me back to everything, used assistive technology for communication, for executive function, for reading, for communication, like I said, and for mobility. So he used a wheelchair and communication devices throughout his lifetime. That's how I learned about it in the beginning. I have been doing this for about 30 years, and I get to come in and go as people request me, and then they say, "Great, we've got it. Thanks so much." And I scoot along. I like to have people ride like the wind. That's a good old reference, right? It's from Toy Story. But I love to do that. I come in and then I go and I help people learn, and then we go to the next thing.
That's great. I wanted to ask about that to hear, um, how you became involved in that space, and to hear that it was because of your son is really, really great to hear because, we're often driven in certain directions because of, the path that our life takes, and it's really, really great. And I wanted to bring that up again because in the world of technology, I like that you said the pencil, using a pencil grip. I just saw recently they have a new grip for the iPhone that's
Hmm.
to help people that have dexterity issues with their hands, and it's a magnet that sticks to the back of the phone, but it's easy to hold for people with certain conditions where they can't necessarily grip the big rectangle of a phone. So it really is, those really big things we think about, but then it can also be a very small thing that we don't necessarily would say is assistive technology, but it actually is. Even the text to speech functions on most phones and computers, even. it's really or speech to text. I said that backwards, but yeah. So it's great to hear that you are a part of that work and doing such good work with that and helping other families. So that's really great. Um, you began to share a bit of your son's story. I just wanted to check and see if there's anything else that you would like to share about his story. And I guess a second part to that question is, how has your son helped you know the importance of powerful experiences and how to live? You mentioned living with resilient hope.
So part of what I love sharing about Dallin's story, so Dallin is our son, is how he would bounce. And I mentioned his first initial illness, and he had continual illnesses. So he did survive that initial illness. They have no idea what happened, how he started with that illness. There wasn't anything that could be identified. And we searched for about a decade after that time about what this could be. Was it genetics? Or did we miss something? Are we looking for something else? What do we know a trajectory? Meaning, do we know what is going to be coming next with him? And we never found that. But he had continual illnesses and multiple disabilities. He had an intellectual disability. He did not regain his spoken language, but did use augmentative and alternative communication. So he had 7 different communication devices that he would use for his array of modes of communication or ways of communication. But then he would get a new illness or a new cluster of seizures that would come to him, and it would just powerfully impact his um, life again. So he would gain a lot of skills, and then an illness would come and it would pull him back down into he would need to learn all of those skills again. And what it showed me was that resilience was not coming to him in the minute. It didn't come to us in the minute. It was after the fact. He did not learn how to walk while he was going through his illness in the hospital. It was after. He didn't learn how to sign again or use his devices again while he was sick for 3 or 4 months at a time. It was after he went through a little bit of recovery. And it was our job as being parents to let him have the time. It wasn't saying, okay, while you're sick, while you're having pneumonia for 4 months, we're going to also pound in this time. It was, let's be well again at the one time. And so, what I found so powerful is he knew how to do it. And if we would let him lead, then he would allow the time for wellness to come again. And being well is not something we give ourselves or our children very often, but he knew how to do it. And so when I would watch that to happen, it was when we paused and sometimes stopped. That's when resilience would come to him and he would pop up like a beautiful daisy and come back with joy and be looking for the next party to have or the games to play or the smile to give us again until he said the next time, I need to be finished for a while. And finished is you flip both hands when you're signing. And that's what I learned from him. And I try and remember that when I'm with myself, my family, and with other people. It was wonderful to watch and to learn from him for so very long.
That was great. I appreciated that whole story. It's amazing what we can learn from children. A lot of times adults feel like they are supposed to teach children things, but it's amazing what children can teach us, and especially a child that's going through, um, some challenges because of a diagnosis that they have, and how resilient they can be, and when that resilience shows up. It's it's really amazing to witness. So thank you so much for sharing Dallin's story. That's really appreciated. I just want to wrap up the conversation with two more questions. So the first question would be, what are some words of wisdom that you can share, offer to other parents who are raising a child or children with disabilities?
You know, the one thing that I've tried to hold on to, I actually learned at the very early age for myself. And when our son was very young, and I was going through a training, and we went through this year of training. I had an opportunity to do this. And at the very end of it, I went through all of my notes again. And it was actually somebody at the beginning of this training I had forgotten. And they said, take everything in and then choose what you will need. Choose what you will need for your
Wow.
child at the time they will need it. And this will change. And I have remembered that for now 30 something years. Again, the glitter in my hair, right? Um, and and I try and portray that and do that consistently with others when I'm on my job, when I'm in uh, another setting, if I'm looking at what my friends are needing, take what you need. I can be yammering on and just be giving all of this malarkey to somebody and say, no, take what you need. It could be one word, it could be one feeling, it could be one thought, and do what you need. And this time for your family, your child. That's all I would say to any family, any parent, or any individual who is saying, man, I'm getting pounded. I watch way too much. We have so much information coming to us now that how do you make a choice? Take what you need. This is yours.
Such great life advice for anyone. I think it's I asked, for parents, but I'm just like, wow, like that's good advice for myself.
Yeah, don't we
Just
wish we could all just do it? Just I'm going to take
yes.
that little dribble, that right there.
Right. Yeah, just take it, take it in and take what you need. That's that's a
Yeah.
good thing. And with the new year, we're recording this in kind of mid-December, but with the new year coming up, like that's great advice to enter into the new year with. So thank you. I actually received that for myself and will definitely be sharing that with some other people too to be aware of that going into this new year for sure. And just a final question that I have for you. It's I was trying to think of something creative to ask, something different. But I'm going to go with, can you share with us what your favorite book or movie is? Or book and movie, if you want to share both.
Um, my favorite book currently is one that is about two rabbits. Um, it tells about um, the times that they have and they're trying to build um, their life together. And it's about Watership Downs. Watership Downs is about rabbits building a life, and it's one of the most joyful, complex stories about how they stick together for life. That's my favorite book. I also read things about philosophy and
Yeah.
joy and about Julia Child, who's the best person on the planet for me. Um, but Watership Down, I love it. It's joy and it's about
Wow.
rabbits. I know. Who
Thank
thought?
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. I love books and reading, so every now and then I try to ask my guests what their favorite book might be. So thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for your time and our conversation today. I really appreciated it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Our View, the podcast, where we amplify the voices and stories of those in the disabled community, one conversation at a time. If this story moved you, taught you something new, or sparked a different perspective, we'd love to hear from you. Write a review of the podcast on Apple Podcast, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Follow us on all social media platforms at Our View for Life 25. At Our View, we believe that disability is not a limitation. It is a powerful part of the human experience. So until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep seeing the world through our view.